Hello and welcome to the aForm show. My name is Alan George and thank you very much for tuning in. Each week, we sit across from thought leaders and change makers in the architecture and design space of the GCC. We dive deep into their experiences, both professionally and personally, and share their valuable insight as to what makes them tick. Our goal is to add value to your day and help you navigate your own personal creative journey. Finally, the opinions and the views of the guest speakers are that of their own. They do not necessarily represent the views and the opinions of the show or the host.
Welcome to the show, everyone. This week we are joined by the fabulous Fabidha Safar-Rahman, design director and founder of Design Matter. In a few short years, Design Matter has exploded onto the local design scene with truly innovative design solutions. Their passion shines through their work and they have received recognition across the board. Recently, Design Matter have added on a shiny new residential department as well. Clearly, there's a lot to unpack in this episode, so without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alan. I'm really happy to be here.
Awesome. So, Design Matter, we were talking off air before the episode started. We were talking about how the initial days were and how you've grown and where you are now and what the horizon looks like. And I think maybe that's a good starting point for us to talk about. If you could take our listeners through kind of why did Design Matter start? What were you looking to do? What was the purpose of Design Matter?
Design Matter started because I started as a freelance interior designer in Dubai with healthcare projects. My background was in corporate design in the US. So it was interesting, it was fun, but a couple of years in, I missed having a team, having those design conversations, working together on a project that's larger than the ones I were handling. So it soon came to a point where a team made sense to deliver better projects, larger projects. I decided to start aForm.
Interesting. So I'm curious because obviously there's a lot of our listeners who, like you, kind of started off as solopreneurs, for example, kind of one-man design studio type situation, and then maybe now have a team. So I'm curious to know if you were to get a brand new project now, for example, with your team, what does that look like? What's the kind of workflow that you would have? How do you go about a brand new project at the moment? Do you have a certain kind of workflow of things that you want to, check through, or is it kind of a lot more intuitive?
It depends on the type of project, the size of projects and everything. But first, we'd start with high fives and a lot of woohoos in the office. We're very excited at the beginning.
New project coming in?
Yes. But we do typically, there's always a design huddle. We discuss the teams on the project. We discuss, charts, project timelines. We do design charrettes, and then just cover the key design requirements. But again, it depends on the size of the project and the type. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Interesting. When we were looking at, obviously, the work that Design Matter did, we saw quite a bit of healthcare as part of your portfolio, which honestly for me has been a very scary sector, just because I can only imagine the kind of specifications that you'd have to go through for a project like that, given the nature of its use and its occupants. Just things like air quality and things like that kind of make me quite nervous, because that's normally not something that I think about quite regularly. So I'm curious to know from your end as a studio, is that true? Is it really that difficult? Is it, am I just scared of that sector? I don't know.
I think it might be just, it's just about getting started on it. So like I said, my background was in corporate design. So when I got my first healthcare project and it was an IVF clinic, you can imagine how overwhelming it sounded. But once you have all the requirements down, it's, again, a space that you design, that you pay attention to the users, whoever is going to be in it. But for me, it is very dear because, and then the materials and everything, they have certifications. So what you said about the quality and everything sorts out. But yeah, for us, when we take on healthcare projects, it's the balance between patient care, employee productivity, and the ROI for the client. So as in most commercial projects, we believe that the healing for the patient should start the minute they walk through the door. So comfort, ease of the patient is paramount. This means paying attention to lighting, materials, adding nature-inspired elements. Of course, considering all the technical issues like infection control and quality of the indoor environment, and of course, aesthetics.
Right.
When it comes to the people that work there, we have to give care for the caregivers.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Employee fatigue, their wellness, their rest, improving their efficiency. Those are things that we look at to kind of keep the operations running smoothly. Circulation, that they don't run into anything while they're doing their job.
Right. Right.
When it comes to the client side, ultimately, even though it's a healthcare facility, they're also businesses. So when we start designing, we also think about the value for the investments that the clients are putting in. At the end of the day, like I said, we have to be wary of the budget and the timeline of these projects, which ultimately also lead to,
Interesting. Interesting. I'm curious then, obviously, I know this is a topic kind of done to death and everyone talks about, the pandemic and, it's over, it's not over, it's, wherever it is. I'm curious to know what the impact of that was to, kind of your healthcare projects. Was there a significant change in brief, or are clients looking for something better or different now, kind of in a post-pandemic world?
There was change to the brief at that point, because obviously the circulation control of the number of occupants, all that was there. But then it was also more stringent in terms of the materials that we were using. They were using a cocktail of bleach and sanitizer and all kinds of cleaning elements, because to prevent, it being a healthcare facility, to prevent infection. Since the pandemic, there's been a sense of preparedness for the future. So again, everyone's kind of now, on their toes about something that might happen, mutations that might happen. So some of them kind of continue. So the standard, I guess, of the materials that we're using, finishes, have just gone up. Everyone was more conscious about, maybe not using stone in certain areas. You get to see it as you go through places that people use marble in certain areas. Porosity, everything was considered.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, these be one of the things that I'd be quite nervous about. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Being future prepared is definitely important. I kind of then want to know from you, maybe this isn't particularly a Design Matter project, or maybe it is. According to you, what really would be a successful healthcare project? What would you kind of determine as, they did a good job?
From an insider's perspective, for me, it would be when there's a perfect balance between patient care, employee wellness, and the ROI for the stakeholders, to kind of, I guess, put it simply.
Right.
When I walk into a space, it's also how it makes me feel as a user. So, that would be something that I pay attention to. And then just watching the interaction between people, how their staff is performing, all that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. There's a bit of, I feel, psychology that goes into this kind of design as well. Is that right?
Psychology, and also research about behavior, people's behavior in a space.
Right.
I am very interested in also employee behavior in a space, fatigue for nurses, proper care, rest areas for doctors who are, have just done the night shift, or how they feel in a space when they have to cross paths with patients in a corridor where they're just trying to do their job, and then that interrupts their work. So those sort of things are of, a lot of interest to me. And also how patients behave in a space. They walk in with a lot of anxiety about their health. They may be stressed about a relative's health. So are you paying attention to the patient? Are you paying attention to the visitors that come with them? Where do they sit? Where do they rest? Are they safe from other areas? Do their paths cross with highly infectious zones? Those things fascinate me.
Interesting. Again, I feel we can have an entire episode on healthcare design, as it should be. I think it's a very interesting field. I should probably just get over my fear and jump into it. Kind of switching gears now. I don't want to give too much away to the audience, because I want you to walk us through this particular project. I don't know if you'd call it a project. Maybe it is. But I'd like to know what, and this is going to sound so absurd, but I'd like to know what Mars and Design Matter have in common, if you can walk us through that particular connection.
Okay, so that was a passion project, and I think we also had a lot of time on our hands during COVID.
Right.
So for me personally during COVID, and as it was for so many people, the first few months we were like, oh, hooray, not months, weeks. We were like, oh, hooray, there's this kind of time to kind of focus on ourselves. And then as news just got worse and things spread around the world, it was just a lot of despair,
Right.
and then this news came out that the UAE was launching the Hope probe, Al-Amal, to Mars. And it just literally blew me away. So it kind of started this creative process. And I wanted to kind of remember that, how I felt at that moment, this tiny country making this huge mark on the world and successfully launching a probe to Mars, which just seemed so ambitious, so amazing. So it got me sketching, and I didn't even know what I was sketching at that moment. I just felt like I had to commemorate that moment. And then that was put on hold for a while. And then we had this bright intern, Deepthi, join us, very, very talented artist as well. So we got into a discussion and we were like, why not turn this into a carpet design? And we collaborated on that. And Hala Mariq was born. So Hala Mariq literally means hello Mars. And it's just this idea that was born after,
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously for the listeners, if you want to have a look at this is easily available. You probably want to jump onto Google right now and have a quick look at what this carpet/rug looks like. I was a bit more curious because I obviously saw the end result and I could kind of make sense of what was happening. It was, I guess, around in nature, Mars, kind of looking to the future. I think it was a piece kind of open to interpretation because everyone who I spoke to after that kind of had different things that they saw in it. I'm curious to know what you saw in it. What was the message that you were trying to send from that?
It was literally, the story of UAE to Mars. So
Right.
It had the lines and contours and the culture and story of UAE kind of sketched into the art. So the many folds around, if you've seen the design, it's like a circular form with folds around it. So it's kind of like the hand of hope gripping around Mars. So it's kind of like fingers, you could call it, wrapping around Mars. And each fold has patterns and textures and material differences, which represent the geography, the culture, the people, the color. So even one of the renders that we did for it was based off of the ghost village in Madame, I think.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember the name of the village. And like if you took a shot out of there, you wouldn't say, because the sand is red, it could be a place in Liva or the ghost village, it could be Mars. So, I mean, there was just that visual connection as well. And also this kind of metaphorical statement of this country's vision, the leadership's ambition.
True.
And the impact they're making around the world.
Undoubtedly, that is definitely true. I did get the sand dunes. Now that I'm thinking about it, I do remember talking to our intern and thinking, do you think it's like an infinite sand dune kind of going all around, encapsulating, and then there's a little oasis in between or something like that? But yeah, I mean, I love pieces like that just because, everyone can kind of get involved with it, which is quite cool.
It is also actually, I think about 15% of it is made from recycled water bottles. So it's also like a statement on us, moving to Mars, where we also have all these issues on Earth that we have to solve.
We gotta sort out a few things here before we go to another.
Yes,
planet.
I mean about challenges that we have to conquer.
Right. So. Fair enough. When I saw that project, now this is more of a selfish question. Feel free not to answer. There are a lot of designers who probably have an idea like that, who have a passion project like that, and can probably sketch something out. But when it comes down to production, a lot of designers have a problem sourcing the actual people to make this in reality. I've had a lot of designers who have this idea of, I think this chair would be really cool, or this table would be really cool, or, a rug, for example, would be really cool. But they have no idea to how the production of that would actually go. And typically whenever they reach out to people, no one wants to do a one-off bespoke piece kind of thing. So I'm curious, for this particular project, did you have similar challenges or?
I did. I mean, I did approach another carpet company as well, but I was really lucky that when I brought this idea up with Hans, who we tied up with to make it, they were very excited by it.
Okay.
Not just by the concept itself, but just in general, because they do have very innovative designs.
Okay.
So if you've seen how a carpet has broken away from the traditional rectangular or circular forms, it has gone, it's just infinite. Especially this last design, the last few design events, you must have seen that all the brands are now investing in carpets that have broken away from traditional form.
True.
So, I mean, they were very advanced with that. Like maybe 5 years ago, they had these designs that were coming out with very cool, innovative design. So they were very quick to kind of pick up on the design and say, we'll support you, we'll make it. And I mean, I've known Hans for some time. We've worked with them. So what I would say, coming back to your question, is for designers in the industry who have similar passion projects would be to kind of give it a try, find a collaborator. I mean, no one can do it alone anyway.
Right.
Somebody with similar kind of curiosity, somebody who's willing to give it a try.
Okay.
Since we also launched it during Design Week 2021, so it was
timing.
it was perfectly timed, and then it was also exposure. So there is something in it for everyone. Especially as a designer, you also have a platform to be seen. So if you are doing something like that, where it's beneficial for you and who you're collaborating with,
why not? Right?
Why not?
Yeah. Makes sense completely. The more I talk to you and the more, we spoke off air and just understanding your workflow when you get a project, you seem like someone who is very operationally oriented in terms of, timelines and resources, and you're able to actually execute. For example, even if you do have a passion project like this, you can kind of turn it into reality rather than it just being a sketch on a napkin and forgotten about, which is quite an interesting task, an interesting trait to have as a designer, because I feel unfortunately a lot of designers don't actually have that. A lot of designers think that it's all about the design and full stop, and don't really focus on the skills needed to actually turn that into reality, which I think you do very well. And even off air, we were talking about kind of the entrepreneurial side of things, studio sizes and when do you expand and not expand and so on and so forth. Before we get into that, I do want to ask about a topic which I find quite interesting, which is studio culture, especially in a boutique, especially in a tight-knit bespoke studio. Culture is very important. I've known it to make and break studios. And it seems like one of those things where there's no real manual to follow per se. There's no formula that you can apply and say, yes, this will work. So obviously with Design Matter, I can see that you have a pretty coherent team. So I'd like to know from your end, how do you go about this topic of culture and finding the right team members and fostering that kind of attitude or whatever it is that makes design matter? How do you go about building that?
So this is going to be a long story.
We have all the time in the
world. So just coming back to just the first part of your comment, execution is where great design dies,
Really?
In the sense that, I mean, you may have the best of designs, but you have to figure out how you're going to execute it.
Right.
And that's one of the early things that I learned from, I've had the benefit of many mentors, but one of my mentors is that, it's great to have great ideas and plans in business or in life, but then you have to figure out how you're going to get it done. So even when I started out in the process of setting up Design Matter, that itself was such an ambitious thing for me because I was not trained to be an entrepreneur in any way. I had a very traditional upbringing. So as mountainous as that task seemed, I was actually not proud. I'd sign up for, and it's not like I have a lot of connections in the industry or I grew up in Dubai, but I lived away for a long time. So I would sign up for any free talk on entrepreneurship, business, and, women in leadership, management, sales, marketing. I've been to every talk in town that was accessible to me. I signed up for a few memberships. So I've had the benefit of hearing from some really, industry greats. When starting a team, so we were just 2 for a year, and then when we decided to expand, there were 3 things that I, knew that were my core values: integrity, respect, and trust. And respect, I think, if you have that down in a team, when you hire and you have good communication, you're transparent about your intentions, and you can create a collaborative kind of spirit. That's been my experience. Now, even though I've had advice from many people, I still kind of do things my own way. I think one of the best things about people who don't start out knowing everything is that you figure a way out that works for you. Companies are not democratic, but when making day-to-day team decisions, we try to bring in as many of everyone's opinions and interests
True.
as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if that made sense, but
no,
it
while
makes sense.
while I like that answer, I do have to hold you on to it a little bit more because, again, we're trying to add value, right, to as many listeners as possible. So those are very good values to have. Integrity, respect are very, very good things to have. Absolutely. But again, just to go down a bit more granular, how does that come off on a CV? How does that come off in a portfolio? Maybe if you were to interview said person, probably that kind of come off in body language or tonality or something like that. But for a fresh grad, for example, who likes design matter and now realizes, okay, these are the values that's important to them, how can they show that in a CV or a portfolio, or how can they best present themselves to show that? How would you pick that up?
As much as interviews are important, don't get me wrong, all of them had amazing portfolios. Like it was, don't have any basic mistakes like spelling errors and that sort of stuff.
That is a common one.
Yes. And stay true to who you are
Right.
when you and your experience, because at some point it's going to come out if you fluff it up too much.
I cannot stress this enough. Everyone listening, Dubai especially is a small ecosystem. If you lie on your CV, you will be found out sooner or later. And by the way, this doesn't just apply to kind of fresh grad designers. I've had 20-year design directors that have the same issue. So again, it's maybe you can get away with it in other markets, I would assume. But again, Dubai specifically, because it's such a tight-knit community and projects are just so well known and almost all designers know each other, you can very quickly verify and kind of background check almost everyone. So yeah, sorry to cut you off there, but
no, that's all valid points. So, I mean, as far as portfolio goes, if you keep it, I mean, you're all trained to do this, taking the same classes and everything. So if you keep a nice, concise resume and a neat, clean, without too many graphics or too many additions, a nice, clean portfolio, and you can show your work, that's enough to kind of get my attention. But then once we interview you, I mean, I almost never take an interview by myself. I always, because I have a set of requirements that I need, but somebody on the team also is there to interview with me. And it's just when you ask questions, when you talk to someone, you ask the right questions, and that's important to you as a firm. So we ask about not just experiences, but also how they contributed to these projects themselves, what their role is. And then it comes out during conversation, how they talk about their work, their previous work experience. We also ask questions about what they didn't like about their previous roles, and how they see themselves in the future. So all of them have goals and ambitions when they came in. And one of my roles here as leader is to kind of make sure that they're on path to their goal.
Right.
Yeah.
Does
that answer your question?
It does. Because again, there's a lot of designers who maybe, want to expand their team and want to hire. And, now that they know that, okay, this is a possible way to go about it, it, helps them a lot. So yeah, I like that answer. Thank you very much. Again, kind of shifting gears a bit, there was this article that I read from a bunch of recruiters, specifically for designers, kind of stating the need of a CV over a portfolio. In the sense, the argument was that designers probably don't need CVs, essentially, if they have a portfolio that shows their work. And basically a portfolio is, in a sense, documentative, in the sense that it shows projects that you've worked on from start to finish. since you started as a designer till now, does one really need a CV in this field?
So for me, I mean, portfolio is absolutely a must, of course. And if you're able to, so for me in a CV, I like to see how you assess your previous roles, how you talk about it, what you think was important in those roles. So I kind of pick up on those things. So when you look at a bunch of drawings, you know that's a great bunch of drawings. But then when you look at the CV, you know exactly what role you played in that.
Right.
For me, it also talks about other things like the skill sets sometimes, and usually people write a range of interests and stuff like that, but then it leads to conversation about, you know, what. But if you can pictorially represent it and also integrate your roles into your portfolio, I have no issues with that. Okay. But there has to be verbal communication. It's very important.
Okay.
Yeah. So here we kind of regularly have team lunches and team conversations around the table. We play pictorial games or some sort of games in the office to kind of get people to come out of their shells and embrace who they are outside of the office and talk about their world so that they bring a little bit of that inside and just, you know, find their true creative selves. I feel that's important.
It's very important. And I think you've hit the nail on the head. That's one of the things that actually leads to, again, small design teams really working well together. Again, we spoke about this earlier when we were talking about, you know, how, technically when you get larger teams and everyone's kind of moving in the same direction, that's a different kind of pleasure to an extent. But I find when you work in, you know, smaller teams and they're also kind of going towards, you know, one goal, there's a sense of camaraderie and, you know, we're a team and we're going to overcome this. And
yes, that's what I love about where we're at right now. I feel like we've really hit that spot. Everyone's kind of also here. Even if you're working on project X, Y, Z and somebody else is working on ABC, there's no restriction, like you kind of flow between things and you're welcome to chime in and give critiques. And also these charrettes that we do or these events that we do, even challenges that we do casually in the office, everybody kind of knows each other's strengths and challenges, and they also know their own limits. So I think everyone kind of pitches in, jumps in where one kind of stops. It's kind of reached a point where it flows really well, and they all kind of work very well with each other, which I'm kind of proud of.
As you should be. It is a very difficult thing to attain. And it's, again, one of those things which we are not taught about in design school.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
So, it's, I'd be proud of it.
But I would say that that's also one of my pet peeves, that we don't get trained about the real life challenges or entrepreneurial challenges in design. We're kind of trained to kind of go somewhere and work as a draftsman or a designer for X amount of years, pick it up and then apply it.
But that's kind of like the catch-22 situation, right? Because when I speak to educators, their goal is, I mean, from their point of view, they think that, okay, as a student, once you graduate, you're going to be in this field, assuming that you like the field and you stay in it, you're going to be in this field for the next 20, 30 years probably, right? You can learn about practice, entrepreneurship, and so on during that time. But the 4 to 5 years that you spend in school, their aim is to make you as much of a designer as possible, because their argument is that once you leave school, it becomes difficult to learn design once you leave school. It becomes difficult to take risks in your design and try out different things just because you won't have the time, you won't have the budget and so on.
Become very practical as well as you kind
Exactly. So there's this catch-22 situation wherein design, you know, educators say, you know, we probably don't want to introduce a lot of the business of architecture into school because that's what they have their career for. And then when they graduate and they come into the field, we say, oh, but why didn't you, you know, learn this when you were in school? So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, but
I can only speak from my personal experience.
Sure.
I didn't have a mentor till very later on, but I do realize the value that they bring. So I would, like, if you're in school, if you have access to mentorship, whether within school in your where you're interning at, or if you join networks, I don't know if kids have access to joining networks, but if you do, joining organizations, I would really encourage you to kind of join it, talk to people, sign up for mentorships, because that is probably where I learned a lot from. I've had like 4 or 5 mentors, and they've just really radically changed the way I think, work.
I have had a similar experience, wherein I think had I not met those people and had those conversations, yeah, I probably would have gone down a very different trajectory entirely, actually, as a designer. Yeah. So
this is real world advice.
yeah.
And I mean, you know, students are strapped for cash, so it's a free mentorship is always free.
Yeah.
It's not like coaching. So
True.
and there are enough people out in the industry that want to help, that want to kind of mentor. So
yeah. I have a little nugget which I can share, which was recently told to me and one of my colleagues, which was and again, for young designers, if you're an older designer, you can probably tune off now. But for younger designers, I think because in school you're used to typically working on a brief of some kind. You know, you have like a checklist almost. Okay, for my submission, I need, you know, X amount of documents, elevations, sections, plans, etc. This is my concept page, and so on and so forth. It's almost like a checklist. And students tend to carry that attitude into practice as well, which is not a bad thing. The problem that this mentor of mine said was that if you do what is expected of you only, you'll end up being a CAD monkey for the rest of your career. And they didn't really get that. And a lot of people were actually offended by that. They were like, what do you mean? But we're doing what we're told to do. And da, da, da. And he's like, no, if you want to actually grow in this field, in this particular field, you not only have to do what is expected of you, you have to do 10, 20% more. And no one's going to tell you what that is.
No.
You have to find that out.
Yeah.
And you have to consistently do that every day. And over time, you will see a significant change in course almost. And I found that quite interesting.
That is very interesting. I wish someone had said that as well. But I think I was lucky that I joined a small firm right out of university. And you get to wear many hats.
Yeah.
And you're exposed to many things. And we went through a recession. I was lucky enough to kind of see it through. And that just taught me so much. That exposed me to so much that, you know, and I did rise to the occasion and, you know, try on different things within that small firm. But yes, you do. And it's, I mean, guys, if you haven't heard it before, here, Alan said it.
No, it's true. I too have always been in a kind of boutique small firm. And yeah, I remember my first kind of junior architect position was for this small local firm here. And yeah, in addition to doing plans, I was, you know, doing the standard stuff which everyone says. Yes, I was doing staircase details and I was doing washroom details and all of that. But because we were a small firm, I was also doing things like updating business cards and doing, you know, graphic design for the website and, you know, picking up a check from a client, for example, you know, stuff like that, which probably if I was in a larger firm, I would never have access to and never know about that particularly. So my advice obviously is, you know, always start in a small firm, especially if you're a fresh graduate and you want to learn. Now, on the flip side of that, I have seen students, for example, at juries who are really, really like miles beyond the pack in things like parametric design, for example. And I just tell them, I'm like, listen, you need to go work at Zaha or something immediately. You know, there's like, don't even bother, you know, looking for anything else.
Of course.
But those are the exceptions. Those aren't, I feel, the rule.
True. And it's also depends from person to person and what your interests are.
Yeah.
So if you're purely, you know, wanting to practice design, I would say kind of go ahead, aim for the stars. And, you know, if you have the work to kind of support it, yes, you will hit the top of a tree. But for vast majority of kids who go out there thinking that I'm a designer, I'm only going to design, or I'm an architect and that's all I do. I mean, good luck to you guys. But
you know, maybe
these are life skills. These things build character. I don't think there's a single person here who hasn't ordered a sample, cleared up a library, the table at our library, stepped in and served coffee to our guests when needed, cleared up things for each other, arranged stuff. I mean, you go above and beyond what is exactly on your job description.
Absolutely.
They help with our Instagram posts. They chime in on our submissions to magazines, award deadlines. They do a range of things. And I think that kind of exposes them to different views and angles of our job. And they get to see it from outside in. They get to see it from, you know, from the top down, down up. They get all kinds of views.
And I think most importantly, they actually understand the why of a lot of things.
Yeah.
which I think if you get isolated in your kind of task list, you tend to probably zone out and lose interest because you don't really understand the why of it. But if you understand, okay, I'm doing this plan for this reason, I'm doing this schedule for this reason, the client had mentioned X, Y, and Z, and that's why, I need to do this one extra sheet. And it, I think, gives a lot more accountability as well, in the sense that, ownership of the project to an extent. Yeah, which all.
It also starts from top down.
True,
I mean,
true.
Your managers, your directors, I mean, it also sets this standard for how you, I guess, interact in your daily life as a designer.
True.
So I'd like to think that we all kind of have that expectations of each other.
Yeah.
I've done that. I serve the coffee. I'll, clear things up. I'll go in and pick up samples if no one else is free. So we all kind of step in. And I could think that kind of works in a smaller firm or smaller teams as well, I suppose, if you think about the larger scale of it.
True. And I think that's one of the good ways that you can actually actionably build culture, which is, kind of the top-down approach. Makes a lot of sense. Very inspiring, I must say.
Thank you.
I am going to ask the question, which I was kind of on the edge for. I'm like, I don't really want to put you on the spot, but as much as it's all, happy days when things are going well, obviously there are days and times when things don't work out, when things don't go the way that you wanted. And as an entrepreneur, I'm sure that this has definitely happened at least once. I'd like to know, for our audience, in your career thus far as an entrepreneur, with or without Design Matter, for example, what has been one of the biggest challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome that?
My entrepreneurial journey started with Design Matter.
Right.
I never thought I would be, but I did turn out to be an entrepreneur. As a young firm, we haven't had that many unsurmountable challenges yet, touch wood. But to talk of challenges at the moment, I suppose, would be to kind of keep the entrepreneur and the designer from influencing each other's decision, like the entrepreneur in me and the designer in me. So there'll be days when I want to hire and I want to scale up because, it's just tempting when then the entrepreneur has to step in and say, listen, is this sustainable change? Because it's a permanent change. And then there's also the designer's need to kind of be perfect and sticking to certain timelines and commitments. And then I'll have to step in and say, okay, this is where I say stop. It's not
this is the
feasible.
line in the sand.
Yes, we have to move on. So I think that striking that balance and also delivering to your clients the best possible value, and also staying true to your team and their hard work, and also running a stable business.
Right.
And that stability for your team, for yourself, is also, it's a challenge, and it's a daily challenge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing challenge. It's always going to be there.
Yes.
It is true, though. It is true. I completely agree with that. It's not something which I've directly faced professionally thus far. But even for the show, I constantly have this kind of, should I just hire someone full time? But then, what if they don't like me? I don't know.
Well, that's also there. The need to kind of be liked. But you also owe it to yourself that you're in it for the long run.
Right.
So you have to think about you now, but also your future self. And it's,
true.
So I kind of look at it from that angle. How does it work for everyone in the long run?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I like that answer too. A lot of good answers today, Fabidha. I must say.
Your approval means everything to me.
Oh God, please. Kind of as we wind down the episode, I always like to get the insight of guests looking forward. And in your particular case, I think you're in a unique position where you've done sectors like healthcare, you now have a new department in residential, and so on. So I'm trying to understand from your point of view, what kind of excites you for the next year? What do you think? What kind of projects do you think are going to be on the horizon? What would you like to be doing? What do you think the market is going to want? Any kind of insights of the upcoming year?
We're very excited about this year and the next few years. For us, we're slowly kind of branching into real estate clients. What we're looking forward to is, of course, continuing to deliver amazing healthcare projects, amazing residential projects, but also slowly look at hospitality, and there's interest. I think there's the buzz around Dubai and Saudi is also kind of spreading into other areas in the GCC. So there's requests from Egypt and other places in Saudi, even other, Abu Dhabi and other Emirates as well. So we're really looking at expanding our work outside of, our regular regions of work projects. But I would say hospitality is very exciting.
Okay.
Working in,
Interesting. All right. So definitely sunshine and rainbows. No rainy clouds on the horizon.
No.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, that is quite good to hear. I'm curious to get your opinion on organizations. This is something which I typically have a problem with also. And I'll just give you my background. As an architect, to be practicing in Dubai, or rather as an architect to be, practicing as a consultant in Dubai with Dubai municipality, et cetera, the board that kind of certifies you is Society of Engineers, which fundamentally I have a problem with because I'm not an engineer, but that's a whole other different conversation. I'm curious for interior designers, is there an organization similar to that for interior designers, or should there be, or is there?
So I'm not aware of anything at the moment that's active, but I think it is the need of the hour to have an organization that advocates for us and also regulates our industry. Some countries have a certifying exam. So, interior design is not obviously for just people who are trained in design. There are people who have switched careers from similar, civil or engineering backgrounds, or obviously a lot of architects practicing it. There's also people who have always felt strongly about design, were in completely different fields, but feel like they have, enough knowledge to kind of practice design. I think it's important to regulate who can practice it. And I'm not saying that it has to be people who are trained in it, but like a minimum set of skills that we need to have to practice. And it could be something that you're training for now,
right?
A certification of some kind. You have it for every field. I understand to set up a firm, you need a 5-year degree and stuff like that. But to even practice, I feel like it would do our clients a great service to kind of just, you pass your exam, you know that you have the minimum set of skills. You can draft. Right. You can measure, you can scale, you understand materials, you understand the laws and regulations of safety. And, that would be great for our industry. I strongly feel that. And an organization that speaks for us, for our industry, helps it keep standards and that sort of stuff.
Would you think, because this kind of opens up another subject, do you think this needs to be a whole new entity, which is kind of locally based, tailored for the market here? Or do you think it needs to be an international organization which needs to come in and have kind of international standards applied here? The example I can think of is, RIBA, for example, the Royal Institute of British Architects, is kind of the gold standard worldwide.
Which is also for architects.
Right, exactly. But that's an international firm, or rather an international organization. Forgive me, RIBA, international organization that has their standards, which then apply here as well. But if you speak to anyone at RIBA, they'll also tell you that, those standards don't always apply. It has to be tweaked for the market here. So that's why I'd like to know from you, do you think for interior designers, it needs to be a local entity based here? Or does it need to be one of these international type organizations?
So 2 comments. One is, UAE is open for everyone. There's AIA here, obviously. Right. There are international organizations. IIDA is a fantastic organization in the US that really does, it not only is a community for designers, but it also helps set rules, helps, watches out for the professionals, and also helps keep standards. They have an NCIDQ exam. But having said that, Dubai is always, about not just keeping global standards, but then try to take it further and be better at everything. So why not? Why can't we have one here that is global standard, that functions at a greater level for us and also for clients?
Right. Fair enough. Yeah. Absolutely. I guess both answers work. You can have both even.
Yeah. It is pretty open, but it is a need at the moment, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense. I feel like this is one of your pet peeves.
It is.
And we did talk about, some of them off air. Any more that you'd want to address? I'm more than happy to talk about.
That's it. I think it would just regularize it and then watch out for everyone. Because there's a lot of people who just woke up one day thinking that, I have a certain taste for furniture or art, and that kind of qualifies me.
Yeah.
Whereas there are people who have done it for many, many years and are actually as good as any trained designer.
Yeah.
And, they should be able to function. So,
yeah. I've had one of my clients do that, and I didn't really know how to react because we're doing a bunch of villas for him, and all of a sudden his wife one day came and said, "I'm an interior designer."
Story of our lives.
And I was like, I saw it as a very good thing because I'm like, all right, awesome. You speak our language. We can get through this faster. And it turns out that interior design to her was, going to the salon in Milan every year and saying, "Oh, I like this and I like that," and that's interior design.
I agree with you. It is good when there are people who, when clients have somebody who speaks for them that can kind of help clear out, or at least set the pace for the design or make decisions, educated decisions. But then when they come in as a designer, again, they should know what they're talking about.
True.
And every so often it happens that, my cousin's here and she's a great designer. What did you do? I studied 1 year of graphic design. Or my brother is an interior designer, hence I'm qualified to make statements on his behalf.
True.
Yeah.
Which I'm sorry to say, but you are not.
So, it to have a certified designer is good for everyone.
Absolutely. Could not agree more. I'm quite buzzed about this now. I'm like, yes, we need regulation.
We need it. Who's going to do it? Silence.
I kind of raised my eyebrows. I'm like, maybe aForm? Who knows, right? Who knows?
But we've put it out there. So
Yes.
now we'll manifest it.
Yes, we will. We have a bit of a closing tradition on the show, which I have actually stolen from another podcast that I listened to, but I thought it was a brilliant way to kind of end the episode. And that is, we have one of our previous guests ask a question for the next guest, not knowing who the next guest is. And there is a question for you. So feel free to answer it or don't answer it. And I find it quite strange because for people who are not listening, Fabidha kind of raised her eyebrows and she's like, "Oh no, what is this question?"
We did not talk about that.
No, but it's typically from a designer to another designer.
Okay. Did you have another tradition a while back?
We have quite a few. I'm kind of trying to nail down on which one I like. So I quite like this one now.
Okay.
So the question is, let me pull it up right now. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay. As a designer, is your relationship with your clients always professional? Should designers look at clients as long-term friendships rather than professional commitments?
Wow, that is interesting. So I've had, considering that we do more commercial than residential, my relationships with clients are very professional. I try to keep emotion out of it. I kind of try to do it so that we are, turning in everything and more and going above and beyond. But I've had friends who have hired me. So, that relationship was already established. I've had clients who I've worked with for many, many years who've turned into dear friends that, I've introduced my family to, we hang out. So, we're humans at the end of it, and it is really difficult to be very clinical about these things. You can't just go in and say, we interact at a human level. And what we do is we are designing their personal spaces. So you end up talking, and it's really hard to kind of not get social when you are in these situations. So
True.
I would say if the vibes click, go at it, go make a friend.
All right.
Yeah, more friendship.
But there you go. I cannot think of a more brilliant way to end the show. Go make a friend. On that note, Fabidha, I really want to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
And obviously the team that partially could not be here. Also, thanks you for your time.
Thank you. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. And we definitely look forward to having you on again, for sure.
I'd love to.
And on that note, we will catch you guys next week.
Fellow aFormers, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for being part of our journey, and thank you for the immense support we've been receiving for our episodes. It has and continues to be a very bumpy road, but we wouldn't want it any other way. If you enjoyed this episode and it brought you value, please share this episode with anyone who may benefit from it. But of course, if you loved the episode, follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn, send us a little DM, and we may just send you a secret link to a secret episode which we've been working on. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. See you next time. Keep sketching.